You might remember from school, English class, that the writing process has stages. It goes something like this. The first stage is the pre writing stage, then there's the research stage. You draft your story, you revise it, and you publish it. Or in creative writing, the stages are brainstorm, freelance, research, planning, so on and so forth. But if you've been around the author community, there's a particular writing process we pay attention to, and that is the plotter and pantser writing process. Chances are you've seen a pantser roll their eyes at a plotter for the plotter's lack of creativity and imagination, and the plotters pointing their fingers at the pantsers, accusing the pantsers of lacking focus, direction, and story cohesion, each believing their way is the right way to write. This debate, plotter versus pantser, can get a little judgy. There's a good chance, even now, whether you're a plotter or pantser, you're feeling a bit defensive. Please wait until the end of this video before you tell me all the merits of plotting or pantsing. So what does it mean to be a plotter or a pantser, and why is it important? Hi, I'm Carmen Cady, author entrepreneur. If you're new to the writing industry and are seeking practical steps to jumpstart your writing to publishing journey, this is the right place where you'll gain expert level knowledge on the craft of writing, publishing, business, and everything in between. And in today's video, we are going to settle the plotter versus pantser debate once and for all. So what is a plotter? A plotter is a writer that leans heavier towards storyboarding and outlining their book, chapter by chapter, prior to writing their novel. Some plotters are meticulous in their outlines, filling in as many details as possible. Other plotters may take a looser approach, outlining the first 5 chapters, writing those chapters, then outlining the next 5 chapters, and so on. A pantser is writing by the seat of their pants, hence pantser. The story develops as they write it. It's not that they haven't considered the storyline, plot points, key themes, turning points, etc. They do, it's that they don't need a structured method to follow. Pantsers tend to follow the natural evolution of a character's life and allow each chapter to inform the next. Let's look at how a pantser and plotter might handle this scenario. Here's the story you're writing. Imagine. Your character, Sam, his marriage is shaky. His wife wants to separate to figure things out. Sam has a long history of alcoholism, but he's 3 months sober. He also has a 15-year-old son from a previous marriage who's been skipping school. He and his ex-wife have a meeting with the vice principal later that afternoon. Let's take a temperature check before we continue with our story. You all can imagine how Sam is feeling right now. I'm sure you can. So let's move on with our story. Sam, a sales rep for a financially struggling lighting distribution company, where his own attendance over the last year has been spotty, gets called to his boss's office right before lunch. A pantser was writing this story. The story would continue wherever the pantser's imagination takes them next based on what they know about Sam. That's not to say they don't have a story direction. They may know by the end of the chapter Sam gets fired, or add a twist, he gets promoted, but the details aren't worked out ahead of time. A plotter, on the other hand, would already know what happens next. They would have outlined it, or at least where Sam needs to end up by the end of the chapter. A plotter will have the conflict, the scenes, characters, an action, and the feeling tone plotted out. But which one is right? My answer is neither, and both. It really depends on who you are, your communication style, if you're writing a nonfiction versus a fiction book. For instance, if you're writing a nonfiction book or essay, where writing processes lean toward the academic and scientific, chances are you'll have your chapters outlined, especially if you're trying to get traditionally published. If your communication style leans towards logic, analytical, or a step-by-step approach to life, you probably prefer outlines. My first 2 novels that I wrote, I outlined. Being new to writing to developing story structure, outlining was beneficial. It helped me make sure I was capturing all the pieces, plot points, twists, challenges, upping the stakes, character development, and keeping track of my story. I found this especially helpful when later into my novel, if I needed to know what chapter I wrote an action, interaction, or event, I could easily find it via my outline. When I wrote my third book, it wasn't until I was 2/3 done that I remembered I didn't have an outline. Somehow, I turned into a pantser. Now, in my writing, there are times after writing 5 chapters, I go back to outline what I wrote. Other times, I outline maybe the theme, plot point, or chapter title using my outline as a goalpost or road sign along the way. Here's an example of what my outlining looks like today. You can see some chapters are blank and others are more like road signs with only the character, plot, point, or place noted, where all I know is the chapter placement, or at least where I think I want to write about XYZ. But at the beginning of my writing journey, I'd have 20 chapters outlined before I wrote anything. However, I quickly learned the story evolved as I wrote, changing directions or adding new dimensions, and I had to revise my great outline. Today, I'm a plotster. Not sure that that's a term, but it fits. I write by the seat of my pants at times and plot other times. Whether you're a plotter or pantser or somewhere in between, there isn't a wrong or right way, only what works for you. So finally, we can put the debate, plotter versus pantser, to rest. That's all for today's video. If at any time during your writing to publishing journey you feel stuck, need an ear, a little help, be sure to check out my affordable consultation services via my website, www.carmencady.com. There's only one thing left for you to do. Click the like button and be sure to subscribe. Happy writing, and thanks so much for tuning in.